Greetings from Jobsite India. World news headlines, a new initiative from our end. You are going to get several news like political, business, science and technology, entertainment, sports, and several miscellaneous news. Hope you all will enjoy. Without further delay, let's start. Russia puts the squeeze on social media to police its critics. Moscow. Russia's government was quick to use social media when it tried to steer the course of US elections. American official says it isn't quite as eager to see its own opponent at home try the same thing. Ahead of a parliamentary vote later this year, the Kremlin has been fine tuning its strategy to pressure platforms such as Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok to remove anti government content, classifying a growing number of posts as illegal and issuing a flurry of takedown requests. Let's move to our next slide. Israel lawmakers to cast vote of confidence in new government by June 14. TELAVIV. Israeli lawmakers will convene by June 14 to cast their vote of confidence in a new coalition government that the Knesset's speaker said Monday, but he didn't set a date for the vote as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu attempts to scuttle a political arrangement that would unseat him. The speaker, Yariv Levin, a lawmaker from Mr. Netanyahu's right wing Liquid Party, said the date for the confidence vote would be given to lawmakers later. The Speaker can delay the vote up to June 14. Let's move to next. Afghan soldiers agreed for Taliban to attack cities after the US leaves. Arghandab, Afghanistan. The Taliban are encircling Afghan police and army positions and encroaching on government held territory, positioning themselves for large scale offensives against major population centers while waiting for the last American troops to depart Afghanistan. The insurgents are pushing their advantage on the battlefield ahead of a full US exit, even as they continue peace talks with the Afghan government in Doha, Qatar. President Biden said the withdrawal would be completed by September 11. Other American officials indicate the remaining US presence and the vital air support they provide Afghan government forces will be gone much sooner, maybe as early as next month. Let's move to the next. Gangrene. Hearing loss suggests Delta strain more severe, says doctor. Delta, also known as B.1.617.2, has spread to more than 60 countries over the past 6 months and triggered travel curbs from Australia to the US. A spike in infections fueled by the Delta variant has put pressure on the UK government to reconsider its plan of reopening later this month. High rates of transmission compared with other variants and a reduction in the effectiveness of vaccines have made understanding to the strain's effects especially critical. Let's move to our next. Chance of reinfection low after first contracting COVID. People who have had COVID 19 appear unlikely to become reinfected by the virus for at least 10 months, according to a study published Thursday by the Lancet. University College London researchers drew their conclusions after reviewing the files of over 2,000 nursing home residents and staff members who were tracked via antibody testing at 100 nursing homes. The findings disclosed that residents who earlier had COVID are 85% less likely to test positive 10 months later, as opposed to residents who had not had the coronavirus. Let's move to our next slide. Poor countries to urge G7 members to sell more COVID 19 vaccines. Public health officials and leaders in developing world countries are expected to press the group of seven countries to commit to large donations of COVID 19 vaccines and billions in financing at a summit later this week, saying the developing world needs more help to emerge from the worst of the pandemic. High vaccination rates are helping wealthier nations recover from the health crisis, with coronavirus case numbers falling sharply and economies bouncing back. Let's move to next slide. United States, Taiwan to launch trade talks. The Biden administration is launching trade and investment talks with Taiwan, advancing US ties with Taipei and likely adding to frictions with the island's nemesis, Beijing. Secretary of State Antony Blinken told a House committee on Monday about the plans of trade talks. We are engaged in conversation with Taiwan or soon will be on some kind of framework agreement, Mr. Blinken said in response to a question from Representative Andy Burr during the virtual hearing. Let's move to our next slide. Nuclear reactor funded by Gates Buffet to be built in Wyoming. Power companies owned by Bill Gates and Warren Buffett have decided to build their first next generation nuclear reactor for generating carbon free power. The companies will announce the exact location of the plant by the end of the year. The demonstration plant would take about 7 years to build, according to Chris Levesque, TerraPower's president and CEO. Let's move to our next slide. China's wandering elephants becoming international stars. Beijing. Already famous at home, China's wandering elephants are now becoming international stars. Major global media are chronicling the herds more than year long, 500 kilometers trek from their home in a wildlife reserve in mountains southwest Yuan province to the outskirts of the provincial capital of Kunming. Twitter and YouTube are full of clips of their various antics, particularly those of two clowns who slipped into an irrigation ditch and had to be helped out by older member of the group. Let's move to our next slide. Devi Hewitt, said to be first woman chairperson of English FA, London. English football's governing body, the Football Association, on Thursday said former RAC chief executive Devi Hewitt would become its first chairwoman, replacing Greg Clark, who stepped down after his comments on diversity in the sport. Hewitt was selected by seven-member panel largely due to her successful career in business including at the RAC, a British automotive service company where she led all commercial activities including roadside and recovery business. Let's move to our next slide. Rafael Nadal into 15th French Open quarterfinal. Rafael Nadal reached the French Open quarterfinals for the 15th time on Monday with a straight gets win over Italy's Yannick Sinner to stay on course for a 14th Roland Garros title and record-setting 21st Grand Slam. Third seed Nadal downed 19-year-old Sena 7-5, 6-3, 6-0 and goes on to face 10th seed Diego Schwartzman of Argentina, who he defeated in the semi-finals last year. Let's move to our next slide. Thank you very much for watching till end. You are kindly requested to subscribe, like and share with your friends. Don't forget to hit the bell icon for latest updates from our end. Till our next video, to take care of yourself and have a great moment ahead. Thank you once again.